Here's the next product. This is one of the newest products in my detailing arsenal, or in my wheel cleaning process. This is the Incredibrush from Microfiber Madness. This is the Incredibrush Flat, and so it's a slimmer or flatter design. Works well with my sports cars that have really big brakes. It's harder to get behind, not even the caliper section, but the rotor section. And so this is a Microfiber Madness's proprietary microfiber type mat, or type however they weave this. So there's this kind of weird white, kind of fluffy snowflake looking stuff. And then there's the longer microfiber attachments. It's their, I don't know that it's patented, but it's their process, which is, I think, superior to all others. I find that it holds water in suds, but not so much water that it gets really heavy or obnoxiously heavy. So this comes with a rather bendable or pliable wand. I find that you could bend it in place, but it tends to hold shape really well. One of the issues with some of the brushes I've had in the past is this will bend so easily, and you're always trying to straighten it out. I never have issues with this bending too much, but it is flexible enough that it is contours to whatever you want it to contour around. It does have this little splash guard, or a little protector, to keep the handle from hitting the spokes of the wheels. I always end up cutting this off, but I'll send it to you with it on there, and you can make the decision. You just get a pair of scissors and cut it if you want. I just find that it kind of gets in the way. I don't like it, but it's one of those things you could simply cut off if you wanted to. So the brush, here's what it looks like if you remove it. And so here's the flat version. The traditional version, or the round version, is rounded and fatter, and so it doesn't fit in between the caliper and the rotor and the little dust boot that tends to catch. You know what I'm talking about, that little thin piece of metal that goes behind your rotor, that a lot of wheel woolies and other brushes won't get behind. And so this thing here, I'll show you how to assemble it here and how to remove it in a second. This microfiber, you would think that this wouldn't do so well with brake dust. I mean, it's got white on it, it's blue, it's microfiber. You're dealing with one of the dirtiest parts of the car, so you would think, man, this won't last long. I've gone probably, I think I've been using this for maybe 4 months now, 5 months, since the beginning of the year. So it's July, so I guess it's been about 6 or 7 months. I had assumed that I'd have to have like 10 of these so that I could swap them out every time I wash the wheels, but I used it, and I at the end, and I'll show you how I go through this process. Just spray it off and wring it out and put it in the bucket so that it can dry off. And I used it again and again and again and again, and it just never really got dirty. I mean, it seemed to stay extremely clean. I've recently taken it off so that I could throw it in the washer. I will wash these with just my colored microfiber towels, whatever colors I'm throwing in. I won't wash it with white. I guess you probably could. Now that it's been washed a couple times, it probably won't bleed through. But I find that I do 10 sets of wheels, and then I'll take it off and I'll swap it out. So I don't send it in any of the packages, or I don't send it with the individual purchase with an extra cover. In fact, I don't even have it in the store yet. They're in short supply. But eventually I'll have extra covers, so you have them. I have 2 of them for this, and then the newest one I just showed you, I only have the 1 for. I found that, again, it's not really necessary to have. And so it is a little tricky to get back on. You really have to get your fingers in here, stretch it out, and then what I do is I take it, and I just try to get it started. Once you get it started, kind of pull it against your waist. The more you pull it, the harder it gets. But you don't want it. You don't want it to be loose. You want it to be stiff and hard to get on, because that means it'll be hard to get off. Once you get it past this part, it's smooth sailing. So I believe the original, there we go. I believe the original design had some Velcro here, but then it would pop loose. And so you can see that took a little bit of work, but I've only done that maybe once before, so it's really not hard to do. So here's one that's been used probably, I don't know, 50 times, 40 times, and here's the brand new one. So this came out of the washer, so you can see it's not quite as nice and neat as the new, but this stuff holds up really well on something that's been used, 30, 40, 50 times versus a brand spanking new one that's come right out of the box. So these things also, I guarantee you it's going to have less chance of scratching than some other mediums. I've actually taken all my wheel woolies. I've had every size, every angle, every possible version of it. You know what I'm talking about. They all get stuck in between the rotor. They get hung up on that little dust boot. Sometimes the brushes get jammed in there. I have to push it straight out to catch it from behind the wheel. They just never do as well. These are gentler. They fit better, but they're 50 bucks. These are $50 because this is, a legit engineered. These are spare no expense, best wheel cleaning brush. Again, I was concerned about the cost of these versus the longevity, and if I were you, I'd give up that. Don't worry about that. You're going to spend 50 bucks on it. You'll get dozens and dozens, and if not hundreds of washes out of this if you simply wash it, throw it in the washer, and then I throw it in the dryer once every, 3 months. You'll get probably, I don't know, you'll probably get 100 plus wheel cleanings out of this if you do that simple maintenance, and then just buy a new cover and retain this. So I would guess you'll have this for years. Which again, it doesn't look like it would last that long, but this thing is fantastic. So I'm glad to show you the inside of it because I hadn't seen the inside of what it looks like. So it's a little bit of a kind of a foamy but stiffer foam substance that gets larger toward the end, but it's flat in nature and does a really good job at cleaning the wheels. I'll show you the round one, which I never use. So here's the round version. I don't know if you can see the bulk difference. So the round one, I guess theoretically I could use for something like the Tahoe. I don't see the need. The flat is a little bit shorter, so it's not quite as long, but it has the same structure. But notice the thickness difference of it. There's a pretty substantial difference between the two from how wide they are. You can see the fatter one behind, and again this one is a little bit longer. So the flat version, I think, is all that you need. I wouldn't waste your time. I bought them both just so I could test them out, and I used this one once, and it's sat in the cabinet ever since. So that's the Incredibrush from this angle. Let's get in and do some wheels and show you how it works on the GT3. All right, so I'm picking up in the process here. First step was to spray off the wheel, and you'll probably want to go back and watch the next set ColorTech video. But I've sprayed it off the wheel well, got it wet, hit it with the next set, and now the next product I'm going to use is I'm going to want to do the barrels first. And so we're going to use our Microfiber Madness Incredibrush, and again, this is the flat version that we just talked about earlier. And so generally I'll get it wet, and then notice, there's not a lot of room here, but yet it fits in there nicely. It doesn't get hung up on the dust boot behind. It really does a great job of getting up in there and having no issues fitting behind. Even though it looks rather thick and flush, it does get up in here rather easily. I could reach all the way back. So, when we get to the rear wheels, I'll show you, it does easily reach to the back. So notice, I'm not coming anywhere close to contacting here, so I haven't felt the need to keep that little circle protector on there. And so I always end up removing it. It just seems sleeker, neater. And I'll generally hit it a couple of times. And like I said earlier in the video, you'll be surprised that this thing washes right out. But notice, we have an issue here that I can't get it back behind this part of the giant caliper. So I get in as close as I can, And that's the extent of this. Now, I save this tool simply for doing the barrels of the wheel. I don't use this tool up underneath. I use the Easy Detail brush for that. And so I like to, you know, this is much more expensive. I think I should keep it used exclusively for a specific purpose, and then in theory it should last a long, long time. And so my normal procedure for cleaning would be as simple as that, and then we would wring it out. And then, as I mentioned many times in this video and others, I don't like to keep a lot of products in the bucket, a lot of different tools in the bucket, so that way this can have free room to dry, and rather than getting all mildewy. If I had tons and tons of different brushes in there, I used to find that this stuff never dried properly. And so this sucker, even I mean, the wheels were pretty dirty even for a carbon ceramics because of all the rain I drove through the last couple of days. But this thing cleans up nicely, and that's the extent of the maintenance I do to it. I just simply spray it off, and it's ready to go for the next wash. And I'll do that probably 10 or 15 washes of wheels before I feel the need to actually pull it off and then throw it in the washer. Even then, I probably don't need to. So you'll be surprised, you know, when you look at this, you'll be like, man, this isn't going to hold up to dealing with my brake dust. Again, I'm cheating here, and I'm using the GT3 just because it's the car here, but I'm telling you, my S2000 and GT350 are dust crazy, and this thing, I've used it on it dozens of times on each car. Maybe not dozens of times on the S2000, I've only had it a while, but on the GT350, I've used it dozens of times, and I mean, this isn't the new one. This is the old one I brought out here, so I didn't bring the new one out. So anyway, this is the Microfiber Madness Incredibrush. It's in the store. It comes as part of the wheel cleaning package. This is fastly growing fastly as one of my favorite tools in my entire arsenal. What happens when the force pulls you back, your foot naturally comes off the gas. You have to keep your foot to the floor, foot to the floor.